Christmas Evil 1980 is a cult classic horror film directed by Lewis Jackson. The movie, also known as You Better Watch Out, blends elements of psychological horror with dark satire and is considered one of the earliest examples of the killer Santa subgenre. Plot summary: the story revolves around Harry Stadling, played by Brandon Maggot, a man who has a deeply disturbed obsession with Christmas. As a child, Harry witnessed a traumatic event involving his father dressed as Santa Claus, which left him psychologically scarred. As an adult, Harry works in a toy factory and has an unhealthy fixation on the holiday, keeping lists of good and bad children in his neighborhood and obsessively watching people to determine if they live up to his moral standards. Harry's mental state deteriorates as he becomes disillusioned with the commercialization of Christmas and the lack of holiday spirit around him. He eventually snaps, dresses up as Santa Claus, and embarks on a killing spree, targeting people he deems as immoral or who have violated his ideals of Christmas purity. Themes and style. Christmas Evil is more of a slow-burn psychological horror film than a traditional slasher. The movie focuses heavily on Harry's mental breakdown and the societal pressures around Christmas. It is less about gore and more about the character's internal struggle with his warped sense of morality and identity. It's notable for blending horror with dark comedy and even social commentary, criticizing the commercialization of Christmas and exploring themes of mental illness, loneliness, and disillusionment. The film creates an unsettling atmosphere through Harry's delusions, his deteriorating mental health, and his interactions with the people around him. Reception. Upon its release, Christmas Evil didn't achieve mainstream success and was largely dismissed by critics. However, over the years, it has gained a significant cult following due to its offbeat tone, quirky execution, and holiday horror theme. John Waters, the famous filmmaker, has publicly praised the film, calling it his favorite Christmas movie and contributing to its enduring reputation as a cult classic. Despite its relatively low budget and uneven pacing, the film is remembered for its unique take on the holiday horror genre, particularly because it tries to develop a more complex protagonist in Harry, whose descent into madness is portrayed with surprising depth. Hey movie lovers! Ever heard of Shogun Assassin? This 1980 cult classic is a wild ride of samurai action that you've just got to see. Get this, it's crafted by stitching together scenes from two epic Japanese films from 1972, Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance, and Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart at the River Styx. Directed by Robert Houston, this film is a stripped-down story about revenge and survival. Shogun Assassin follows Ogami Ito, a top-notch executioner for the shogun who gets double-crossed and turned into a ronin, a samurai without a master. He's roaming through feudal Japan with his little son, Daigoro, hunting down the shogun and his cronies who backstabbed him. Now, let's talk key features. First off, the action is just insane. Imagine the most over-the-top fight scenes. That's Shogun Assassin. It's a hallmark of the samurai cinema from back in the day, known for its brutal, no-holds-barred sword clashing. The editing is slick too. They've pieced together bits of the Lone Wolf and Cub series to make this story snap and keep you on the edge of your seat. This cut-and-paste magic also helped Western audiences dig into this flick without needing any background on the original movies. And hey, if you're into film history, this series inspired heaps of filmmakers, including Quentin Tarantino. Ever watched Kill Bill? Yep, that's got Shogun Assassin DNA all over it. Despite some initial flack for being ultra-violent and straightforward with its plot, Shogun Assassin has become something of a legend. It's loved for its raw mix of traditional samurai culture, eye-popping action, and that unique father-son bond. It's not just a movie, it's a midnight cinema icon and a cornerstone in the world of martial arts and exploitation films. Shogun Assassin was released on November 11th, 1980. The film holds an 82% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb. Shogun Assassin is available to watch on Amazon Prime. Hey horror fans, get ready to dive into the creepy world of The Boogeyman, a classic low-budget chiller from 1980, directed by Uli Lommel. This film mixes supernatural scares with a psychological thriller vibe, all wrapped up in the eerie tales of the boogeyman from folklore. Plot summary. It all starts back in 1960. We meet young siblings Willie and Lacey who catch their mum in a compromising situation with her lover. Things take a dark turn when the lover abuses Willie. To save her brother, Lacey stabs the guy, but here's the twist. She does it while he's reflected in a mirror. Jump 20 years ahead, and the siblings are grown up but still haunted by that gruesome night. When Lacey and her husband revisit the old house, they find the same creepy mirror. Bad move. This awakens the vengeful spirit of the murdered lover, and then all hell breaks loose. Anyone who crosses paths with this mirror or its shattered pieces starts facing some seriously spooky stuff. Key themes. This movie isn't just about scares, it digs deep. It explores how childhood trauma can linger and mess with our heads as adults. Plus, it adds a supernatural twist with the spirit seeking revenge through the broken mirror, which also acts like a portal for his haunting spree. Style and reception. The Boogeyman became a hit on the drive-in circuit and later a cult classic among fans of 80s horror. Critics were torn. Some loved the creepy vibes, while others felt it was too similar to other horror hits, like Halloween and The Exorcist. Still, it raked in over $20 million against a humble budget of $300,000. Legacy. The freaky factor of The Boogeyman inspired a couple of sequels, Boogeyman 2 in 1983 and Return of the Boogeyman in 1994. Neither quite captured the original's magic, but they still hold a special place for B-movie horror buffs. The Boogeyman premiered on November 14, 1980. It's got a 40% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and scores 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb. Craving a scare? The Boogeyman is streaming for free on the Tubi app. Dive in if you dare. Hey movie buffs, have you caught The Idolmaker yet? Directed by the talented Taylor Hackford in his big debut, this 1980 flick dives into the glitzy, tough world of the music biz during the rockin' 1950s. It's all about the rise of a music promoter, a guy named Bob Marcucci who helped launch stars like Frankie Avalon and Fabian. The movie spins around Vincent "Vinny" Vaccari, played by the stellar Ray Sharkey. Vinny's this super ambitious dude who scouts young talents and molds them into the pop stars of tomorrow. He spots Tommy D, a bold and charming singer, and Guido, a more reserved guy. Vinny's got big plans for these two, but his relentless drive starts costing him his personal life. Oops! The story really gets into the gritty details of what it took to get to the top in the early days of rock and roll. It's all about ambition, sacrifice, and, yeah, a bit of manipulation. Vinny's journey is both inspiring and a bit of a cautionary tale. Ray Sharkey totally nails his role as Vinny and even snagged a Golden Globe for it. The flick also marks the film debut of Peter Gallagher, who plays Guido, the shy musician turned pop idol. Plus, the soundtrack is a blast with catchy tunes that bring the early rock and roll era to life. Despite not being a huge box office hit, The Idolmaker has grown into a cult classic, thanks to its insightful look at the music industry's star-making machine and some knockout performances. Fun fact, Peter Gallagher, who played Guido, had no musical background before this. He had to quickly pick up singing and performing, skills that later helped him shine in Broadway musicals. The Idolmaker was released on November 14, 1980. The film holds a 90% positive critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb. The Idolmaker isn't available on any of the well-known streaming services, but it is available in a fan upload on YouTube. Find a link in the comments of this video. Hey movie buffs! Let's talk about Raging Bull, the 1980 knockout film by Martin Scorsese that really packs a punch. This gem stars the incredible Robert De Niro as Jake LaMotta, a middleweight boxer with a temper that's as fierce in the ring as it is destructive in his personal life. Ever seen De Niro go full beast mode? This is it. So what's the scoop on Raging Bull? Well, it dives deep into the gritty world of boxing in the 1940s and 50s, showcasing Jake's battles with legends like Sugar Ray Robinson and his rise to fame. But it's not all about the glory. This flick also gets up close and personal with Jake's messy side, his explosive jealousy, and the rough patches with his wife Vicky, played by Kathy Moriarty, and his brother Joey, brought to life by none other than Joe Pesci. Speaking of performances, De Niro is simply stellar, snagging an Oscar for Best Actor. And let's not forget Joe Pesci and Kathy Moriarty, whose acting skills shine bright in this film. Scorsese, with his magic touch, turns the black and white visuals into an intense, almost surreal experience, especially those slow-mo fight scenes that'll make you feel every punch. Raging Bull isn't just a film about boxing, it's a study of a man wrestling with his own demons, jealousy, rage, and a haunted personal life. It's about how a sport can both build and destroy a person, leaving them isolated from the ones they love. Despite a slow start at the box office, Raging Bull has knocked out critics and audiences alike over the years, earning a spot in the hearts of film lovers and in the US National Film Registry for its significant impact on culture and cinema. Here's a fun fact to wrap up. Scorsese wasn't even keen on making a sports film until De Niro, who was totally fired up about LaMotta's story, convinced him to direct. Good thing he did, because Raging Bull didn't just revive Scorsese's spiraling career, it redefined it. So if you're in for a cinematic uppercut that explores the rough and tumble of life both inside and outside the boxing ring, Raging Bull is your ticket. Trust me, it's a total knockout. Hey movie buffs! Dive into the British drama Richard's Things, directed by the talented Anthony Harvey. This 1980 drama stars the incredible Liv Ullmann, Amanda Redman, and Peter Burton. It's a roller coaster of emotions, exploring grief, love, betrayal, and everything in between. Based on Frederick Raphael's novel of the same title. Here's the scoop. After Richard, a successful businessman, passes away, his widow Kate, played by Liv Ullmann, is left to sort out her feelings. But grief gets tangled when she finds out Richard was having an affair with the younger Josie, played by Amanda Redman. What starts as a clash between the two women slowly morphs into an intense, complicated bond. They dive deep into their shared past with Richard, trying to untangle their mixed feelings. Richard's Things isn't just about the drama. It delves into how Kate and Josie deal with their grief, their journey towards forgiveness, and their quest to find themselves after loss. Critics in 1980 were not fans of Richard's Things, comparing it unfavourably to the work of the legendary director Ingmar Bergman. The negative takes extending to Bergman muse, Liv Ullmann, who stars in Richard's Things and we criticised for coasting on her Bergman-honed persona. Co-star Amanda Redman received similarly bad reviews for her performance that critics found lacking in star power. Released back on November 14, 1980, the film has a 17% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb. Catch Richard's Things streaming for free on the Tubi app. Hey movie buffs, get ready for a trip back to one of the most talked about films in Hollywood history, Heaven's Gate from 1980. Directed by Michael Cimino, this epic western is famous not just for its grand scale, but also for its epic flop at the box office. But let's dive into what makes this movie super intriguing. Plot. Picture this. It's the 1890s in Wyoming during the real-life Johnson County War. The film stars Chris Christopherson as Jim Averill, a sheriff with brains from Harvard who's out to protect immigrant settlers from a ruthless gang of killers hired by rich cattle barons. Adding more spice to the mix, we've got Christopher Walken as Nathan Champion, a tough enforcer, and Isabelle Huppert, who plays Ella Watson, a madame caught in a love triangle. Drama, right. Themes. Heaven's Gate isn't just a Western shoot-'em-up. It digs deep with themes like class warfare, the corruption of the American dream, immigration woes, and the rough-and-tumble history of the Wild West. It's all about the clash between the haves and the have-nots. Production tales. After the hit The Deer Hunter, director Cimino had all the freedom and a hefty budget, which, well, kind of blew up. We're talking a budget jump from 11 million to over 44 million. Cimino's hunt for perfection meant huge set constructions and meticulous details, like moving actual mountains. All this was shot in the picturesque locales of Montana and Idaho. Controversies. Not all smooth sailing, though. The set saw some serious issues, including allegations of animal cruelty, which really stirred up activists. Plus, the massive budget caused major headaches for United Artists, pushing the studio to the brink of collapse, release and aftermath. When it hit theatres in November 1980, let's just say critics weren't fans. The original cut was over 5 hours long. Audiences hardly got to see it before it was pulled and trimmed down, but the damage to its rep was done. Box office, a mere $3.5 million. Talk about a financial disaster. Looking back. Over the years, though, Heaven's Gate has seen a bit of a revival. Some now call it a misunderstood gem, admiring its ambition and stunning visuals by cinematographer Vilmos Zsigmond. The director's cut, in particular, has found new fans and sparked more positive chatter. Legacy. Despite the initial crash and burn, Heaven's Gate remains a fascinating study in filmmaking. It's a prime example of what happens when a director's vision goes unbridled, marking an end to the director-driven era of the 70s in Hollywood. So whether you see it as a monumental flop or a bold masterpiece, Heaven's Gate definitely proves that in the world of movies, sometimes the most interesting stories happen behind the scenes. Give it a watch and decide for yourself. Heaven's Gate was released on November 19, 1980, before being immediately pulled from release. The film was re-released in a cut-down form in April of 1981. The film holds a 57% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Heaven's Gate, the cut-down version, is available to stream for free on the Tubi app. If you want to see the director's cut, it's available via the Criterion Collection. The Apple is a 1980 musical science fiction film directed by Menahem Golan. It is widely known for its eccentricity, over-the-top campiness, and bizarre storyline. The film is set in a dystopian future, the year 1994, where a powerful music conglomerate, BIM, Boogaloo International Music, controls the world through pop music. The plot loosely mirrors the story of Adam and Eve, with themes of temptation, control, and rebellion, all told through a bizarre mix of rock opera and disco. Plot. The film follows two young singers, Alfie and Bibi, who come to the big city hoping to achieve stardom. They enter a music competition and catch the eye of Mr. Boogaloo, the head of BIM. While Bibi becomes seduced by the glamour of fame, Alfie is more resistant, sensing the sinister forces behind Mr. Boogaloo and BIM. The film's central conflict revolves around Alfie trying to save Bibi from the corrupting influence of the music industry. Musical numbers. The film features numerous musical sequences with a mix of disco, glam rock, and new wave music. The songs are colourful and flamboyant, and the choreography is filled with elaborate costumes and exaggerated visuals that reflect the film's over-the-top aesthetic. Reception. The Apple was critically panned upon its release and is often cited as one of the worst films ever made. Audiences found its story nonsensical, and its campy style didn't resonate with mainstream viewers. However, over the years, the film has gained a cult following for its so bad it's good qualities. Fans of camp cinema appreciate its unintentional humour, wild costumes, and catchy, if absurd, songs. The Apple was released on November 21, 1980. The film bombed hard at the box office, earning $521 on a $5 million budget. Had it not been for the historic failure of Heaven's Gate, released the same week as The Apple, the failure of The Apple might have ranked among the all-time failures. Today, the film holds a 27% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 4.3 out of 10 on IMDb. The Apple is available to stream right now, free with commercials on Pluto TV. Steel, 1980, is an American action-adventure film directed by Steve Carver. The movie stars Lee Majors, Jennifer O'Neill, and George Kennedy. It's a high-stakes story about a group of construction workers who work on skyscrapers and face dangerous working conditions, along with some personal conflicts and issues. Here's a breakdown of the plot. Plot summary: the film focuses on Mike Catton, played by Lee Majors, a former construction worker who comes out of retirement to help his old team after the death of their boss. They are tasked with completing a half-built skyscraper, but the project faces numerous obstacles, including an unscrupulous developer trying to sabotage the effort. Catton and his team of steelworkers must not only deal with the inherent dangers of their job, but also fend off sabotage attempts and protect the integrity of the building. Notable aspects. The film was notable for its depiction of the dangerous world of steelworkers, including realistic stunt work done on high-rise buildings. Lee Majors, who was a major television star at the time due to The $6 Million Man, was a key draw for audiences. Steel bombed at the box office. Despite a number of positive reviews from critics, the more than $5 million film failed to earn back its budget at the box office. And that would be where this story ends, except for the fact that Steel was released a second time in 1980. Following a release in August of 1980, Steel was released a second time in Los Angeles under a new title, a thriller title, Look Down and Die. This would be a funny story about marketers trying to fool audiences with clever marketing tricks, if it weren't for the fact that the title is referring to a scene in the movie Steel, where a man actually died. Stuntman A.J. Bakunas, doubling for George Kennedy, acted out a scene where Kennedy's character, Big Lou, falls to his death. Bakunas actually fell to his death in a failed attempt to set a stunt record for the highest free fall in a film. Certainly makes the title Look Down and Die feel at the very least inappropriate. Steel has no score on Rotten Tomatoes. The film is not available on any streaming rental services, but if you'd like to see the actual footage of a man falling to his death, you can find Steel in a fan upload on YouTube. Hey movie buffs, ready to dip into a little nostalgic romance? Check out Falling in Love Again, a charming romantic comedy from 1980 directed by Stephen Paul. This gem stars Elliot Gould and Susanna York, with a young Michelle Pfeiffer sparkling in one of her first screen roles. So, what's it all about? Well, it's the story of Harry Lewis, played by Elliot Gould, who finds himself in a classic midlife crisis. What does he do? Starts daydreaming about his youth and his first crush, Sue, brought to life by Susanna York. We flip back and forth between now and the 1940s, catching glimpses of Harry and Sue's young love blooming. And here's where Michelle Pfeiffer steps in. She plays the younger Sue in those throwback scenes. The vibe is totally light-hearted, mixing a dash of nostalgia with sweet, old-fashioned romance, and the kind of reflective moments that'll have you thinking about your own life choices. The critics gave it mixed reviews when it hit the screens, and it wasn't a blockbuster hit, but Rex Reed loved it, and it's got some cool trivia points. Did you know it was Stephen Paul's directorial debut at just 22 years old at Cannes? Or that Susanna York wasn't just acting but also co-wrote the script? Talk about talent. And let's not forget Michelle Pfeiffer. This role was a stepping stone for her. And though she was originally not the first choice, her audition was so spot on that she bagged the role. It definitely helped launch her into those bigger roles in the 80s. Falling in Love Again debuted in theatres on November 21st, 1980. It doesn't have a Rotten Tomatoes score, but it's sitting at a cozy 5 out of 10 on IMDb. If you're into movies from the heart or just want to catch some early Pfeiffer magic, this one's for you. Check it out and fall in love again with Falling in Love Again. Babylon 1980 is a British drama film directed by Franco Rosso that delves into the experiences of Black British youth in South London during the late 1970s. The film is set against the backdrop of reggae music and the sound system culture, which was a defining aspect of Black British identity at the time. It explores themes of racism, identity, and social injustice, presenting a raw and unfiltered view of the struggles faced by the Black community in Thatcher-era Britain. Plot overview. The story follows a young Black man named Blue, played by Brinsley Ford, the lead singer of the reggae band Aswad. Blue is part of a reggae sound system crew called Eatle Lion, and the plot revolves around his personal struggles, such as unemployment, constant police harassment, racial abuse, and the challenges of trying to make it in the music scene. The film captures the tension between Blue's passion for music and the everyday difficulties he faces as a Black man in an overtly racist society. Themes and impact. The film addresses systemic racism, police brutality, and social alienation. It offers a poignant critique of British society and how it marginalises Black youth. Babylon is also noted for its authentic portrayal of the reggae and sound system culture, which was a vital part of Black British life. The music in the film, featuring reggae and dub tracks from artists like Dennis Bovell and Yabby U, is an integral part of its mood and message. Upon its release, Babylon faced challenges, particularly from British censors, due to its politically charged content and raw depiction of race relations. It was initially controversial and largely ignored by mainstream audiences in Britain, but over time it gained a cult following and has been praised for its boldness and authenticity. Legacy Babylon is now regarded as a significant cultural artifact, both as a film and a reflection of the racial tensions in Britain during the 1970s and 1980s. It has been reappraised in recent years, with critics recognising it as a pioneering work in Black British cinema. Its 2019 re-release in the United States, decades after its original debut, introduced it to a wider international audience, and it has since been acknowledged as an essential film in the canon of both reggae culture and Black British film. The film's message about systemic racism and youth disillusionment still resonates today, making it an important watch for those interested in the intersection of race, music, and social justice. Babylon was released on November 21st, 1980. The film holds a 100 rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb. The movie is available to rent on Google Play. Let's take a quick trip back to 1980 with The Private Eyes, an 80s comedy that pokes fun at mystery and detective flicks. Directed by Lang Elliott, the film stars comedy legends Tim Conway and Don Knotts. Known for their epic comedic timing, they play Inspector Winship and Dr. Tart, two clumsy American detectives. They find themselves in a huge, spooky mansion in England, tasked with solving a string of murders. The duo stumbles through clues and bumble around with the mansion's weird staff. Despite their best efforts, more murders keep happening. It's a laugh riot. The Private Eyes takes a light-hearted jab at those classic detective stories we all know and love. It's not exactly a critic's favourite, but it's won people over with its charm and snagged itself a cult following, especially among fans of Tim Conway and Don Knotts. When it hit the theatres, it made a decent splash, pulling in about $18 million in North America. That's nearly $70 million today, and on a relatively small budget, the film was a notable success. Now, some might say the plot's a bit thin, but the real joy comes from watching Conway and Knotts work their magic. This flick holds a special place in the hearts of those who cherish classic comedy pairs and the nostalgic vibes of late 70s and early 80s comedies. Conway and Knotts were beloved by little kids who loved their mugging and silliness. The Private Eyes was released on April 17, 1980. The film holds an 86% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.5 out of 10 from users on IMDb. Hey, have you heard about The Visitor? It's this wild sci-fi horror flick from 1979, originally titled Stridulum, that landed in the US in 1980. Directed by Giulio Paradisi, who went by Michael J. Paradise in the credits, this movie is a total mind-bender, mixing horror, sci-fi, and some really out-there mysticism. It's like nothing you've seen before, trust me. So, what's the story? It's all about this epic cosmic battle between good and evil. There's this alien trying to stop a child from being born because, believe it or not, this kid could end up wiping out humanity. The child, Katie Collins, played by Paige Connor, isn't your typical kid. She's got these freaky powers and a connection to some ancient evil. Her mum, Barbara, played by Joanne Neal, is caught up in this mess because a shady organisation wants her to have another child, a vessel for evil. Enter the mysterious alien visitor, played by John Huston, who's here to save the day and guide Katie away from the dark side. Who's who in the chaos? Katie Collins, Paige Connor, a young girl with psychic powers and a target for evil. The visitor, John Huston, the enigmatic saviour from another planet. Barbara Collins, Joanne Neal, poor Katie's mum, stuck in a nightmare scenario. Jerzy Kolsowicz, John Huston, the good guy fighting off bad vibes from outer space. Raymond Armstead, Lance Henriksen, Barbara's boyfriend and a part of the creepy organisation, Vibes and Visuals. Think of it as a mashup of David Lynch, Alejandro Jodorowsky and Dario Argento's styles. It's surreal, it's bizarre and utterly fascinating. It's got that eerie, unsettling atmosphere with visuals that are just out of this world, literally. The plot might be a head-scratcher, but that's part of the charm that's turned The Visitor into a cult classic. Critics and fandom, initially, critics didn't really get it. They thought it was all over the place. But over time, it's gained a massive following who dig the trippy storyline and psychedelic scenes. Now, it's celebrated for being one of the most unique pieces of 70s cinema, a real gem for fans of the strange and unusual. Looking back, while it wasn't a blockbuster hit, The Visitor has carved out its own niche as a peculiar but fascinating piece of film history. Its dreamlike, strange narrative and visuals have kept it alive in the hearts of its fans. Catch The Visitor streaming for free on the Tubi app and see for yourself why it's scored a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes and has a pretty solid cult following. It's a wild ride. Hey music lovers, have you caught the legendary Paul McCartney and Wings rock show yet? It's this epic concert film from 1980 that takes you back to the heart-thumping vibes of Wings' 1976 North American tour. Imagine being right there as they rock out. It's pure magic. So what's all the fuss about? First off, you get to see Wings live at their 4-night gig at the Seattle Kingdom, which was one of the hugest stadium concerts of that tour. We're talking killer tunes like Jet, Band on the Run and Live and Let Die, plus some Beatles gems including Lady Madonna and The Long and Winding Road. The squad was on fire with Paul McCartney rocking bass, guitar, piano and mic, Linda McCartney on the keyboards, Denny Lane and Jimmy McCulloch strumming those guitars, and Joe English killing it on drums. This lineup was iconic, and the visuals absolutely mind-blowing. The stage setup, the lighting, the pyrotechnics, especially during Live and Let Die, it's an explosive spectacle. For a long time, Rock Show was kinda tough to find. But guess what? It got a shiny remaster in 2013, finally hitting DVD and Blu-ray with some never-before-seen footage. Yup, now we can all relive those rockin' days. This documentary isn't just a concert film. It's a slice of rock history that captures McCartney's vibe post-Beatles, showing off his chops as a solo artist and bandleader. It's a must-see to understand why this tour was a massive deal back in the day. Although it's not rated on Rotten Tomatoes, Rock Show has scored a sweet 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb. And here's a treat. There's a fan upload on YouTube you can watch for free. Just check out the link in the description of this video. So what are you waiting for? Dive into the Rock Show and experience the magic of Paul McCartney and Wings like never before. Rock on!